Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome to another edition of Warhammer Wednesdays, where we showcase Warhammer Fantasy Battle Reports every Wednesday during our Fantasy Wargaming Week with our series, The Golden Age. And this is Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report number 113. It is a 3,000 point battle that is fought between Scream of the Emo as well as myself. Scream of the Emo is bringing House von Koss, his 3,000 point Vampire Counts army, and I will be playing the Blackstone Crusade, my studio's 3,000 point army for Bretonnians. Now, in case you guys have just been tuning in for the very first time, what we've been doing is we've been taking our studio's Bretonnian army and we've been making them face against every single army that's in our studio's collection. And this is the second to last army they'll be fighting against in this little series, so that way we can see exactly how the Bretonnians stack up. And this is going to be a 3,000 point battle that's fought with the battle line scenario, and we're going to play some background music real quick. As the music is playing, we'll show you photos of both armies as well as the rosters. If you want to see exactly what the armies are bringing on this one, you can pause, take a look at your own leisure, or look in the description box below, and you guys will all see the army list there as well. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Crom, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought, or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Balor pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then the hell with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Alright, so let's go talk about the scenario rules for this one. The scenario is Battle Line. It is the most typical game of Warhammer Fantasy we play on this channel, with standard deployment as well as standard victory conditions. So with the battle plan over with and the scenario rules over with, let's go and talk about the battle plan real quick. Alright, so here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield. As you can see, we're playing on a 4x6 table. I am deployed on the far side of the table, while my buddy Scream of the Emo is deployed on the near side of the table. And pretty much my plan on this one, it's going to be kind of complicated for this battle. My Bretonnian army is pretty much kitted out with the idea that I defeat you through combat resolution. The idea is supposed to be that once I charge into you and fight you in combat, I stack up enough injuries and casualties in order to really stack up my combat res, and then with my rank bonuses as well as my charges and other factors, I basically force you to break, and then I pursue you and destroy you that way. That's pretty much how this Bretonnian army has been kind of built to do that. Unfortunately though, I'm playing against vampire counts, so that doesn't really work too well against the undead. Now granted, if I win combat, the difference of combat resolution will additionally lead to additional casualties for the undead, but that's really about it for the most part. So unless I absolutely just overwhelmingly steamroll over my enemy's units, that's not really going to help me out in this one roll too easily. So that tactic is not going to do very well. So for the most part, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to concentrate on his unit of killers. What I'm going to really concentrate on is that huge unit of ghouls that's in the middle of the table. That's where most of his points are located at. That's also the unit his general is at. I'm planning on sending my Knights of the Realm as well as my Grail Knights in that unit and hopefully smash that one to pieces. I also plan on bogging down his flanks real quick with my commoners on either side, so that way he doesn't outflank me. And then hopefully I can defeat his Calliope of Chaos, his Mortis engine, as well as his monster using my cavalry once I go through those ghouls. And that's pretty much the battle plan I'm kind of going with this one. So with the battle plan over, let's go on and talk about deployment real quick. Alright, so starting off with House von Koss. On the far left hand side, that is a huge unit of 15 direwolves called the Hounds of Tyndalos, and they don't have any upgrades whatsoever. It's just that unit all by itself on the right hand, on the far left hand flank. Continuing on with his left-hand flank, on the left-hand side, that is the Ghost Knights of Vergun, is a unit of 10 Black Knights with full command. They have lances, heavy armor, as well as shield and barded undead steeds as well. And they also have the Band of the Barrows, giving them +1 to hit in close combat. And right next on the right-hand side, that is a unit called the Ravenous, is a unit of 6 Tripped Horrors with no upgrades. And making up his center, up on the front right-hand side, that unit is called the Balefire Carnival. Is a unit of 49 Crypt Ghouls with a Crypt Gas. They have poison attack and toughness 4, so it's a pretty hard-hitting core unit. Leading that unit is Marduk von Koss, the Baron of Drachenfels. He's a Strigoi Ghoul King, who's also the general for this army as well. He's basically packing Skabscrath, which gives him Devastating Charge, Frenzy, Flaming Attack, as well as a Death Streak ability. He's also got the Dragonbane Gem for 2 up ward save against flaming attacks, as well as an Aura of Dark Majesty, which means that enemies within 6 inches of him suffer a -1 penalty to their leadership. And he's also got the Curse of the Revenant, giving him +1 to his wounds as well. He's also got Summon Creatures of the Night, which means that he can use the Invocation of Nehek spell to increase the size of dire wolves, bat swarms, as well as fell bats beyond their original starting size. He is Lore of Vampires, and he's packing the Invocation of Nehek for his spells. In the back left-hand corner, that is the Calliope of Chaos. It is a Mortis engine with a Blasphemous Tome upgrade, so my opponent will be able to get +2 to all of his Lore Vampire castings. And then right next on the right-hand side, that is Volkar, the Beast of Blutvold. He is a Terrorgeist with no upgrades. Alright, so make up the right-hand side of his battle line. On the left, that is Rolling Bones. It is a corpse cart, basically with no upgrades whatsoever. And then right next on the right-hand side, that is the Walking Dead of San Reme. It is a unit of 40 zombies with Musician as well as Standard Bearer. And that unit are 2 characters as well. We have Gauntfield of Carrion Crows, who's a Master Necromancer, level 4 Lore of Vampires. He's also got the Book of Asher, giving him +1 casting as well as Dispel attempts, which means that when combined with the Blasphemous Tome, he's got +3 on his casting abilities, so it's really, really dangerous. The spells he has for this one are Invocation of Nehek, Van Hell's Dance Macabre, Hellish Vigor, as well as Raised Dead. And right next to him on the right hand side, that is Sinister Jeffrey, the Librarian of Curses. He is a level 2 Necromancer. He's got the Dispel Scroll. He's also packing the Lore of Death. And the spells he has for this one are Soul Blight, as well as Doom and Darkness. And finally, Vanguard up 4, 12 inches are 2 units of 5 Hex Wraiths. The one on the left-hand side is called the Mask of the Red Death, and the one on the right-hand side is the Mask of the Black Death. And that pretty much makes it Scream of the Emo's deployment for this one. Alright, so going across the table, we have the Blackstone Crusade, my 3,000 point Bretonnian army. On the left-hand side, in the back, that is the Bowmen of Biarritz. It's a unit of 20 peasant bowmen. They got longbows, defensive stakes, braziers for flaming attacks. And right in front of them are the Riom Hussars, which is a unit of 5 yeomen. They're mounted on horses. They're packing spears, shields, light armor, as well as crossbows. And in the center is where most of my army is located at. On the left-hand side, that unit is called the Hedge Knights. It's a unit of 9 Questing Knights of full command. They're packing heavy armor, shields, bartered war horses, and great weapons. They also got the Banner of Swiftness, giving them +1 to their movement. Right next to them on the right-hand side, that is a Pride Lioness. It is a unit of 10 Knights of the Realm with full command. They have lances, heavy armor, shields, bartered war horses, as well as a standard discipline, giving them +1 to their leadership. And leading that unit as well is my character Jean Dery, the Marshal of Lioness. She's a paladin. She's also my army's battle standard bearer. She's got heavy armor, shield, bartered war horses. She's also packing a great weapon. And the reason why that is the case is because she's carrying the war banner, giving her +1 to her combat resolution as well. So just by herself, she also got a virtue of duty as well. I forgot to mention that. She also gets additional +1 combat resolution in any fight she takes part in, so long as the general is alive. So just by herself, she basically generates 3 combat res just by herself when combined with the war banner as well as a virtue of duty. And also in that unit, we also have Lair the Beast. He is a Templar Crusader. He's got heavy armor, bartered war horse. He's also got a shield. He's also got the Ogre Blade, which gives him +2 strength. And the reason why I have that character in that unit is because of his Fiery Zeal ability, which means that when he's mounted, they can reroll failed charges, which is always a good thing. And then lastly, on that character on the far right hand side, that is Warren, the Hermit of Shalom. He is a Monk of the Ladies, a level 2 wizard. He's riding a bartered warhorse. He's got a Dispel Scroll, the Terrifying Mask of E, which means his unit causes terror. And at the same time, he's got the Lore of the Lady. The 2 spells he's got are the Steed of the Lady as well as Mist of Shalom. Right in front of them on the right hand side, that is the Chasseurs of La Arve, which is a unit of 5 yeomen with spears, light armor, shields, and crossbows. And then finally on the right hand side there, we have a unit called the Blackstone Legion. Is a unit of 10 Knights of the Grail Knights with full command. They got lances, heavy armor, shields, and bartered war horses. They also got the banner defense, which means they also got a 4 ward save against all missile attacks, which is awesome as always. And leading that unit, I have 2 characters. On the left-hand side, that is Remy the Apion, the Duchess Lioness. She is a Bretonnian lord who's also my general. She's got a shield and bartered war horses. She's also got a Grail Vow as well. She's got the Virtue of Heroism, which means she has Heroic Killing Blow and the Sword of Strife, giving her 2-up attacks. And she's also got Serene's Lock, which means she can never suffer more than 1 wound in any phase. However, she is still affected by Killing Blow. And then finally on the right hand side, we have Kelcrest the Falconer, who's a Prophetess of the Lady. Level 4 Wizard, Bartered Warhorse. She's got a Staff of Sorcery to give her +1 to Dispels. And she's got the Lower of Life. And her spells are Flesh to Stone, Throne of Vines, Regrowth, as well as the Dwellers Below. And last in the far right hand side there, we got the Dawn Templars, which is a unit of 9 questing knights with full command. They got heavy armor, shields, great weapons, and bartered war horses, and they're also packing the Banner of Eternal Flames for flaming attacks. And finally, making my right hand side, we got the Ravazan Guard, which is 24 men-at-arms, a standard bearer musician. They also got light armor, shields, and halberds. And leading up in the front, we have the Darning Rangers, unit of 5 yeomen with crossbows, light armor, shields, and spears, and they're also mounted of horses. And that pretty much makes my deployment for this one. So with deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and both Scream the Emo and I roll off for initiative to see which of us will be going first. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1 for the vampire counts. My buddy Scream the Emo gets to go first, and this photo is taken after the moon phase. And as you see in the photo, not much movement really happens for his main battle line. Pretty much his main battle line stays exactly where they're located at. The only thing he actually does move are his flanking units. So because of that, he takes the Hounds of Tindalos. He actually has them move up forward the normal allowance to the left-hand side, so that way they can get a nice little flank charge to my main battle line. However, the big killer though, was his 2 units of what you call them, Hex Wraiths. They were within range, within 12 inches of his Vampire Lord, so because of that, they were able to march, and basically those guys flew forward 16 inches, just kind of cutting through the right hand side of my flank and focusing their attentions on the Silver Squire, which is my unit of Knights Errant. They did a massive, horrible job just chopping up those guys using their Spectral Hunter rules. The next thing he also does, he takes the Volkar, the Beast of Blutwald, and just kind of flies him over the right-hand flank in order to protect the zombies for the most part. And that's really the only movement that he really does for this first turn. So here's a close-up of the Hounds of Tindalos, moving over to the left-hand flank in order to assault my Bowmen of Brits, as well as my Riom Hussars. And here's a close-up of his main battle line, just kind of standing their ground for the most part, which is actually a pretty smart tactic, because after the game he basically told me the reason why he didn't do that is because he didn't want to get charged against by Bretonnians. He wanted to do counter-charging if he could, and that's pretty smart, considering that most of my army is mounted and armed with lances. It's always advantageous for my opponents to charge me instead of me charging them, because when I charge my opponents I get strength bonuses. However, if I get counter-charged though, I don't receive those strength bonuses, so pretty much makes sense to do that. And there's a close-up of Rolling Bones, as well as the Walking Dead of Samurai May standing their ground, as well as Volkar the Beast of Blutwald flying over the right-hand side to protect that flank. And finally, here's a close-up of the Mask of Red Death and the Mask of Black Death going through my right-hand flank. The Mask of Red Death went right through my Silver Squires, managed to kill 4 of my Knights Errant with those Spectral Hunters ability. And the reason why is because I don't get armor saves against their attacks. I have to count on my ward saves. In this case, only a 6 of ward because I got the Blessing of the Lady, but man, that really hurt. Luckily for me though, my Knights Errant passed their panic test because they're within range of my general, so they're perfectly fine. At the same time though, the Ravazan Guard also suffered 2 guys being killed as well from the Mask of the Black Death, who used Spectral Hunters to kill those guys as well, so that part was kind of sad too. So the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase, and my friend Scream the Emo decides to tap Sinister Jeffrey, the Librarian of Curses, first. He decides to cast Doom and Darkness off directly onto my unit of Grail Knights, and managed to get -3 to my leadership. So because of that, with my general in that unit, it's only leadership 7, which is not very good, because that's basically the same leadership as my Knights Errant, which is really bad. To make matters worse, it is a remains in place spell, and I won't be able to dispel either. And the reason why is because my opponent cast it with irresistible force, with a miscast 7 on that one.
Klaatu! Marata!
So because of that, the basically 4 zombies get killed because they're all within base combat contact of Sinister Jeffrey, the Librarian of Curses. And considering that he was able to get that Remain in Place spell off for Doom and Darkness, small price to pay as far as he's concerned. So that part was extremely rough. It also ends his magic phase prematurely because of the drain of the power dice. So from there we go directly to the bottom, turn number 1 for the Bretonnians, and that's for my turn. There's no more shooting or close combat for the vampire counts, so I just move up forward is what I ended up doing for the most part. As you can see, most of my armor just kind of heads up. The first thing I decided to do, I decided not to march. Like I said before, I don't want to get countercharged by these vampire counts, so because of that, I don't move up my maximum allowance by marching my guys forward. I just move up their normal moon allowance. That's all I do. So everybody just kind of moves up 8 inches from where they were. So as you can see, I got a nice little line of my light cavalry guys making a screen there, so that way they can protect my flanks. At the same time, my main killer units are also moving up as well, and I also march up the Ravizan Guard to, march up with them on the right hand side there as well. Now the Bowmen of Brits, they stand exactly where they're at because they got defensive stakes, and plus I don't want to suffer a -1 to hit with their longbows, so they just stay exactly where they're located at. And that pretty much makes my move phase for this one. So here's a close-up of the Realm Hussars, as well as my Hedge Knights, as well as my Pride and Lioness, just moving up as quick as they can, so that way they can get some charges on my next turn against the vampire counts. And in the back, I got my Bowmen of Brits providing overwatching fire. And here's a close-up of the Chasseurs of La'Arv, as well as my Blackstone Legion and the Dawn Templars there, moving up in order to get some counter charges off. And finally, here's a close-up of what's left of my Silver Squires, the Ravizan Guard, as well as my Darnay Rangers getting ready to secure my right-hand side. And that pretty much makes it the move phase. So the move phase over with, we skipped magic phase, and the reason why I skipped the magic phase is because, unfortunately for me, I only got 4 dice on my power dice on this one, and my opponent was able to get 3 channeling attempts. He rolled 3 dice for all 3 of his wizards, got 6s for all 3 of them. Needless to say, he shut down my magic phase, so that part was kind of sad. So with the magic phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. And the shooting phase was horrific. I opened fire with the Bowmen of Brits directly into the Hounds of Tindalos, so I was only able to kill 2 of those guys, so that part was horrible. Unfortunately for me, I just flubbed my rolls for the most part. Most of my shots hit, but most of my shots failed to wound, and that's the reason why only 2 dire wolves only ate it. And I decided to concentrate fire with the Realm Hussars as well as the Chasseurs of La'Arv. They opened up their crossbows directly into the Balefire Carnival. I only managed to plink off 3 of those guys, and that's not impressive, all things considered, because my opponent can bring back his casualties using Invocation of Nehek. Since shooting phase is over with, nobody's engaged in close combat, and pretty much ends my turn for this one. So with that takes directly to the top of turn number 2 for the vampire counts, and this photo is taken after the move phase, and with a YOLO in the air, my buddy Scream with the aim decides to charge forward, is what he decides to do. The first thing he decides to do is declare a charge with the Hounds of Tindalos, who go directly into the left-hand flank of my Bowmen of Brits. Now, they do have defensive stakes in their front arc, but if you get charged from the flank though, that's not going to do anything to protect my bowmen, so just like that, those guys are in for serious trouble against all those dire wolves, which is really bad. At the same time, he also declares a charge with his Ghost Knights of Vergun. Those Black Knights go charging directly into the Hedge Knights, catching those guys in the forward arc in close combat. Now he does try to declare a charge with the Ravenous, which are the 6 Crypt Horrors are down there on the bottom left-hand side. He declares a charge directly against the Realm Hussars on the left-hand side. I stand to take it, and I also decided to stand and shoot as a reaction of that, but unfortunately none of my shots hit or wound, so that part was kind of rough. And at the same time, my opponent failed his charge, so he only goes forward a couple inches on the left-hand side as well. Meanwhile, the Balefire Carnival declared a charge directly against my Chasseurs of La'Arv. I decided to stand and shoot as a reaction for them. Unfortunately, I missed all my shots, so nothing much is going to happen there. So he goes crashing to my yeomen, which I know they're going to die because that's what they're there for. They're my sacrificial lambs. Now, for the rest of his army, though, he does not charge forward. He just kind of moves them up like normally. He brings up the Calliope of Chaos, so that way they can pulse with the Dark Reliquary, so that way all these fighters nearby get 6 up regen saves from the Dark Reliquary. Unfortunately for him, though, he wasn't able to wound any of my guys, so that part was kind of nice. He also flies up his Terrorgeist. Volkar, the Beast of Bootval, goes right behind the Balefire Carnival, so that way he can start getting within range to open with his Death Shrieks. Meanwhile, on the far right-hand side, he just moves up his Walking Dead of Samurai May as well as Rolling Bones to protect his right-hand flank. And because he was in the range of his Hex Wraiths, within that 12-inch range, his Hex Wraiths were able to march again. And this time they went right through my unit of Grail Knights from the Blackstone Legion. Both units passed through, managed to kill 3 of my guys by using Spectral Haunter's ability, which was pretty rough. And that pretty much makes up his move phase for this one. So here's a close-up of the move phase on the left-hand side. As you can see, the Hounds of Tindalos are really getting ready to chop up and eat my Bowmen of Brits alive, which is all kinds of horrible. And here's a close-up of the Ghost Knights of Vergun getting ready to go up against my Hedge Knights, so that part would be kind of interesting. And here's a close-up of the failed charge from his Ravenous, from his 6 Crypt Horrors as well. And here's a close-up of his Balefire Carnival going directly to the Chasseurs L'Arve with the Calliope Chaos, as well as Volkar the Beast of Blutwald in tow. And here's a close-up of the Mass of the Black Death, as well as the Red Death using their Spectral Hunter abilities that cut right through my unit of my Blackstone Legion, which is my unit of Grail Knights. And this is where I make a serious rules mistake. As you can see in this photo, I took a panic test with my Grail Knights, and I wasn't supposed to do that. I made a mistake on this part. So once again, I sometimes make rule mistakes all the time in battle reports, but this one actually ended up being a huge rules mistake that kind of haunts me later on. First of all, Grail Knights are immune to psychology, which means that no matter what the casualties they don't take break tests for the most part, because they have that immune to psychology rule. I forgot that they had that. For whatever reason, it just didn't enter my mind that my guys had immune to psychology. So because of that, I take a leadership test because they lost 25% of their units, so like always, I have to take a panic test. And because they have a -3 leadership, their leadership 7, I failed their leadership test twice. I rolled a 10, I think I rolled a 10 and a 9, I think is what I ended up rolling for both my tests, because I get the reroll from the Battle Standard Bearer. So because that I fail it and I go back like 9 or 10 inches directly to the back of the table edge like a moron, because I forgot that these guys were immune to psychology. So I know. These guys are supposed to be immune to psychology, but you know, Commander Chiefscape makes mistakes sometimes when he plays these games, and I'm gonna pay for it. And finally, here's a close-up of Rolling Bones, as well as the Walking Dead of San Reme here on the right-hand side. So the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. And once again, my opponent, Scream of the Emo, managed to get Doom and Darkness off on my Pride of Lioness, and that's a remain in play spell. So now my Pride of Lioness have -3 to the leadership, which means, including the +1 they get from the standard discipline, their leadership's 6 now. So that part was all kinds of horrible. And unfortunately for me, though, I was unable to stop it because Scream of the Emo cast that spell with irresistible force, and he miscast 4 on that bad boy.
Klaatu! Marata!
As you can see in this photo, something like 10 zombies get killed upon the massive explosion that happens from the magical detonation that took place here. At the same time, when he also rolled to see exactly what happened to Sinister Jeffrey, he rolled a 1, so because that Sinister Jeffrey gets sucked into the warp, and just like that, his level 2 caster is killed. Which is kind of like a bittersweet moment for me, because it's sweet because yes, I don't have to worry about Doom and Darkness anymore, so that part was awesome. But it's bitter because it's a remain in play spell that was cast with irresistible force, and that's going to last for the rest of the game, which is really, really horrible. So with the magic phase over, they go directly to the shooting phase. And in the shooting phase, oh good gravy, the shooting phase, it was absolutely horrible. First off, my opponent decides to use his Death Streak ability from his general. Marduk von Koss has the Skabscrath, so because that he uses his Death Streak ability off directly onto the Chasseurs L'Arve and just kill all those guys instantly, because, you know, you basically roll 3d6, you add his wounds, compare that to my leadership. I had leadership like basically crap, and they all got killed, so just like that, they got, you know, screamed to death as their blood vessels exploded in their head. At the same time, my opponent then also concentrates fire. He concentrates fire with Volkar the Beast of Blutwald, as well as the Ghostly Howl from the Calliope Chaos. They concentrate their death streaking directly into my Pride of Lioness. As you can see in this photo, only 4 of those guys are still left alive. My Paladin, my Wizard, my Battle Standard Bearer, and 1 Knight of the Realm as well. I have to admit, having that Doom and Darkness with that -3 leadership really hurt, but that's kind of like the combo that my friend Scream of the Emo uses with his units. He uses it to great effect, so that part was horrible. Unfortunately, I had to take a break test because the casualty that I took, and I failed that break test, so my Pride of Lioness goes running, and because my Battle Standard Bearer also broke, Jean de Ray, she automatically gets killed, which is just all kinds of horrible.
Something always brings me back to you. It never takes too long. No matter what I say or do, I still feel you here till the moment I'm gone.
And just like that, my Battle Center Bearer is dead, and things are quickly taking a left turn for my army on this one. So the shooting phase over with to go directly to the combat phase. And in the combat phase, I do nothing against the Hounds of Tyndalos. As you can see here, those direwolves, man, they slaughter 5 of my Bowmen of Barits, which is just absolutely horrible. So because I get nothing off on those guys as well, so because I take 5 as my casualties for that, they also charge me, which brings me their combat resistance to 6, and they have an additional rank, which brings them to a combat total of 7, and they also take me from the flank, which brings it to a grand total of 8. Needless to say, I am leadership peasant, so I break and I flee. The dire wolves pursue 12 inches, and not only do they destroy the Bowmen of Barits, but they also run directly into my Knights of the Realm from the Pride of Lioness, and they manage to wipe out that unit as well. So just like that, one of my main unit of killers was killed, and at the same time I lost my archers, and things are not looking very good right now for the Bretonnians. Meanwhile, close combat between the Ghost Knights of Vergun as well as the Hedge Knights went in completely left field on me on that one. In the end, I was able to kill 2 members of the Black Knights, which is awesome. But at the same time, though, my opponent basically killed 4 of my members of the Hedge Knights as well, which is absolutely horrible on that part. So because that, my opponent automatically wins the combat by 2. He also charges and also has a Standard Bearer. Now, I cancel out the Standard Bearer because I have a Standard Bearer of my own, which means that my opponent beats me by 6 when it ends up happening. So, needless to say, I need to take a break test. I failed that break test because my Battle Standard Bearer isn't there for me to have a reroll. I flee, they pursue. I flee 4 inches. The Dark Knights, the Ghost Knights of Vergun, they pursue some like 8 or 9 inches, and they just kill every single member of my Hedge Knights and manage to kill them. Then they basically run up to pet the direwolves in the back of the head because direwolves did an excellent job for them. So that takes directly to the bottom of number 2 for the Bretonnians, and at this point, I'm just desperate. I'm running out of straws. First thing I decided to do is to declare a charge. There's a couple of charges that I ended up doing. I send the Realm Hussars from the left-hand side into the left-hand side of the unit of the Balefire Carnival. At the same time, I also send in my Templars of the Dawn directly into the right-hand flank of the Balefire Carnival as well. Meanwhile, what's left of the Silver Squires charges directly into the Walking Dead of Samurai May, joining up with my Darny Rangers to do exactly the same thing. And I also move up my Ravizan Guard to protect the right-hand flank of my fighters, just because I'm desperate at this point. And once again, I make another rules error. Like I said before, my Grail Knights, I forgot my Grail Knights had immune to psychology, like I said before, and for whatever reason, it just didn't occur to me that I had that rule for whatever reason. And unfortunately for me, I failed my break test again because my guys are only leadership 7. There's no Battle Center Bearer around for them to do a reroll, so because of that, they flee off the table. And just like that, my level 4 caster, my general, as well as that nice huge unit of Quail Knights, they flee off the table and earn my opponent some juicy points at the exact same time. So here's a close-up of the charge going on the center. We took out the Templars of the Dawn as my Dawn Templars, as well as the Realm Hussars trying to catch the Balefire Carnival in a pincer attack. And I don't know how well that's going to work out, but I gotta do something. And here's a close-up of my Silver Squires, as well as my Darny Rangers going directly to the Walking Dead of Samurai May because they got to pay for destroying my army so far. So with the move phase over with, we skip magic phase because I don't have it anymore because both my casters are dead. I skip the shooting phase because all my shooting elements are either dead or in close combat, and we go directly to the combat phase. Alright, so that takes directly to the combat phase. Needless to say, things did not go directly my way. I just flooded my rolls, for lack of a better word. I managed to kill 5 Crypt Ghouls, which was, you know, the best I could do at the time as well. At the same time, however, my opponent decides to issue a challenge. Decides to do Marduk von Koss issues a challenge, and I answer the call with my Paragon from my questing knights. He decides to step up against him. Unfortunately for me, though, Marduk von Koss is kitted to kill. He kills my champion, no problem. He kills him 3 times over. So because of that, not only does he kill my champion, but he also gets 3 points of overkill bonuses on top of that as well. Also kills one of my questing knights at the same time. At the same time, his regular Crypt Ghouls as well as his Crypt Ghast managed to wipe out what's left of my Realm Hussars on that one as well. So because of that, my opponent is beating me right now with 10 combat res. Now I do manage to kill 5 of his ghouls, which drops it down to 5, and I also got a flank on him, which drops it down to 4 for me though. But in the end though, he still's beating me by 4 at this point, and I had to take a break test. And unfortunately for me though, I break and I flee. Not only do I flee, but I flee hardcore. My Realm Hussars got killed a man, but my Dawn Templars, they fled 12 inches. They're little boxcars, and they go flying to the right-hand side of the battlefield, and they just go off the edge. And just like that, my opponent managed to net those juicy points as well. And because the Dawn Templars flew right past the Ravizan Guard, these guys had to take a leadership test as well. And these guys are leadership peasant, which means they fail the leadership test, and they go back like, I think 9 inches, I think is what it was. They go tearing through that force. Luckily, I passed my dangerous terrain test, which is kind of nice. And they started heading directly to the end of the table because they don't want to die after watching their betters being slaughtered. And down below, combat between the Silver Squires as well as the Darting Rangers are actually pretty cool. They managed to kill 2 of my yeomen as well as one of my my Silver Squires from my Knights Errant, and I managed to kill. I think I managed to kill 6. I think is what it was. I think I killed 6 zombies in the end. Anyways, by the time it gets done, I managed to kill 12 zombies in total, including the combat resolution differences. So that part is kind of nice. But now my units are tar pitted. But that is all I have. I just got these 2 partial units and a fleeing unit of halberdiers, and that is all I have. So at this point in the game, ladies and gentlemen, I realize I'm not going to be able to pull this one out of the bag because I was playing like an idiot for most of the game, and I just kind of call at this point. And that brings directly to the end of the game with a win for the vampire accounts, and my buddy Screaming Emo managed to wipe the walls with me because I forgot that my Grail Knights have immune to psychology. But that's okay though, folks. We're going to go directly to the After Action Report because this battle report is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
I thought about staying. They offered me the chance to lead them, to teach them, to be king.
Uh-huh.
But my place is here, so I swallowed the juice, said the words, and here I am.
Did you say the words right this time?
Well, maybe I didn't say every single tiny little syllable, no, but basically I said them, yeah. Basically.
Alright folks, now it's time for the After Action Report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we'll be clearing for the next time that we do battle. This is the After Action Report for the Golden Age Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report number 113. And this one ended up being a defeat for yours truly. Let's go ahead and talk about that real quick. So, in the end, I was only able to score 125 victory points against my opponent. While Screaming Emo was able to put 2,713 points against me. For my losses, I lost Remedy Apion, the Duchess Lioness, Quilcris the Falconer, Jean Duray, the Marshal Lioness, Lair of the Beast, Warren of the Hermitish Alone, the Pride of Lioness, the Bowman of Brits, the Hedge Knights, the Realm Hussars, the Chasseurs La Arve, as well as the Blackstone Crusade. Meanwhile, Screaming Emo only lost 1 character really, which is Sinister Jeffrey, the Librarian of Curses, and that was the only thing he lost because of a miscast. I lost this battle for one simple reason. I totally forgot about immune to psychology. Just to plain to the point. Like I said, I made a real bonehead move by making my Blackstone Crusade test for panic after taking 25% casualties, and I just forgot that they were immune to psychology. That's pretty much what it was. Because of that mistake, the Blackstone Crusade, Remedy Apion, and Quilcris the Falconer are some of my main killers in that unit. And because they fled the battlefield, I didn't have that unit to really help me out in this one. So I was totally on the back foot for the entire battle because of that as well. Now, to be fair, I usually make a lot of mistakes in my battle reports. You guys get to see them all the time on YouTube. But, you know, you live and you learn, unfortunately. And that's like the last time I'll ever forget that Grail Knights have immune to psychology. Man, that really hurt really bad, because it really got taken to me on that one. Not to mention Doom and Darkness, man. That is one powerful spell. I'm not gonna lie, and it really combines very well with the Ghostly Howl as well as the Death Shriek attacks that Scream of the Emo was rocking, and that's basically where Scream of the Emo gets his nickname from. The screen name they use for him is because he does that with his armies, and it always just, you know, tears my guys apart at the same time. Not to mention Doom and Darkness broke my Grail Knights as well as my Knights of the Realm. Now granted, my Grail Knights was a rules mistake on that one, but for my Knights of the Realm though, that one really hurt as well. And the reason why is because with my Battle Center being gone, that pretty much neutered the Knights of the Realm, and it also stopped all the leadership tests for the rest of my guys, so that part was pretty horrible, and that's one of the contributions that led to my defeat on this one. Now, to be fair, my army is designed to break and pursue my enemies, which means I beat you through combat resolution, and I pursue you and destroy you. And against an undead army, that plan does not work at all whatsoever. So because of that, that strength was gone in my army at this point. Plus, not to mention, Scream of the Emo's armies were really on point during this battle report. His Ghost Knights of Vergun did really well. And Direwolves, man, those Direwolves really chewed up my archers at the same time as well. So kudos to Scream of the Emo for doing that beautiful left-hand flank attack on my guy as well. Plus, his magic was really on point too, mainly for his death spells. He wasn't able to get off any of his vampire spells, Lord Vampire spells, just because he always miscast every single turn during the battle report. So because I was able to take advantage of that, of the boost from his Blasphemous Tome from his Calliope Chaos. Anyways, with all that being said though, my Bretonnian army is currently standing at 8 wins as well as 5 losses, so it's doing pretty good, all things considered. And even though I made a huge mistake, this was still a lot of fun to play, and as always, I'm always looking forward to the rematch on that one. So that's going to do it for this week, guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is always appreciated. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest, greatest hobby news related to our channel. That's going to do it for this week, guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.